Hey y'all, welcome back for another Brewing Zone video. So today we're going to be brewing a 5-color Shrines deck. This is inspired by a deck I've been playing on Arena and having a blast with, Pioneer Shrines. But this time we're going to be building it kind of with the Epic on a Budget style vibe, and of course not limited to Pioneer because we're just playing casual, right? So we'll see if we can keep it under the 20. We might have to go up to 25 or maybe 30. The 30 would be a hard cap. For this deck, since it is 5 colors, the lands are going to be a bit of an issue, and to make it work, we might have to go up slightly on the cost just to make a good deck. But 5-color Shrines has been a really, really fun deck for me in Pioneer on Arena, so I kind of want to do it here. So let's dive into it. Shrines is it's a pretty fun kind of card. Here we go. So it's an enchantment type. Here we see all of them. There are several cycles they've come out with, and so you'll see some common themes. The original ones were these Hondens, or Honden, or however you're supposed to pronounce that. Honden is the one that works for me. Honden, Honden Cleansing Fire, Honden Rage, etc. These were the only shrines they had for a little while. Actually, when I got into Magic, I really wanted to build a shrine deck. And these are the 5 shrines that were options. And unfortunately, with these shrines, it doesn't actually work terribly well. The deal with shrines is that they all care about how many shrines you have. So every single one of them, essentially, except for maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, cares about how many shrines you have. So you need to have plenty of shrines. Okay, that's going to be number 1 goal, is get lots of shrines. Okay, and their abilities scale with the number of shrines you have. Okay, so for example, Honed of Cleansing Fire. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life for each shrine you control. Nice. Or Honed of Infinite Rage. At the beginning of your upkeep, Honed of Infinite Rage deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of shrines you control. Okay, so that's cool, but they're legendary. That's the other kind of interesting thing about these. They're all legendary. Every single one of them is legendary. Okay, so that means that you can only have 1 of each shrine on the battlefield at a time. If you play another one, then you have to sacrifice 1 of them. Good old legendary rule. So with just these 5, you kind of max out the number of shrines you have with just these original ones, right? So you could only get up to 5. And because of that, and the fact that actually these are all kind of expensive and not impactful enough to win you the game very quickly, then I never was able to really make a Shrines deck. Okay. However, you see there's so many more now, and it's actually really doable now. So let's look at some of the other ones. We'll take a look at all of them. This one, this came out in the Avatar Last Airbender set, and all of them have a specific kind of templating. So these don't have a recurring effect based on the number of shrines. However, they have an enters the battlefield effect based on it, and then a recurring one whenever another shrine enters the battlefield. So when it enters, for each shrine you control, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. Okay, so that's nice. So this is the 3rd shrine you have, then you're going to get 3 tokens right away. Okay, and then also, whenever another shrine you control enters, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. Okay, that's nice, because that provides a way to win. It also provides a way to stabilize, since we're going to be playing basically just shrines. Though I am interested in putting in a little bit of a learn/lesson sub-theme. So we'll explore that in a little bit. But this one gives you creatures. So this is a good way to win the game, because your creatures can attack. It's also a good way to just block and not die. Not dying is good. Winning is also good, right? And one thing that's nice about that is it gives you a bunch of creatures all at once. So it's good against spot removal or whatnot, because there's a bunch of them. But even with some board wipes, it gives you a kind of consistent stream of creatures. So super valuable shrine right there. Goshen Tie of Ancient Wars. These Goshen Ties, these are all, okay, so this one is a little bit of an exception because it was built for commander. It's supposed to basically be the commander for a 5-color shrines deck. That was the idea when it was made. And we can look at that in a second. The other ones, though, kind of share some similar properties. They're all enchantment creatures, which is interesting in one way because, you know, creatures are good. However, if you only have like a very small number of creatures and none of them have any kind of protection, they kind of die quickly. Because the thing is that most people do keep some, like, do have some creature removal in their deck. And so one of the nice things about a shrine deck is you can actually play without any creatures or very few creatures in your deck. Like I said, the lesson or / learn subtheme might involve some creatures that we actually want to die, so it's fine. But the idea has been very good in my experience with my Pioneer deck to not have any of these enchantment creatures, because then all your opponent's creature removal is just blanked. Like, it does nothing, essentially, because this, like, the only thing they can use it on is when you do end up playing the Crescent Island Temple and getting tokens from that. But then spot removal is very weak against it, and other than that, it's totally useless. Whereas if you start playing some of these, then your opponent's spot removal can actually remove something. And you really need your opponent to not remove very many of your shrines, because you need that critical mass of shrines. You need your number of shrines to keep going up and up and up and up for you to win. Okay, so while some of these are somewhat interesting, I kind of avoid them. So this just deals damage. This one's probably the worst because it just puts +1/+1 encounters on shrines. So it only really works if you're going hard into the enchantment creature shrine kind of theme, because you can't even put +1/+1 encounters on monk creature tokens or something. So I don't know, not super interesting here. You also have to pay. We don't want to be paying mana to get our abilities, and every single one of these, it requires that. So this one destroys a creature, which that's not bad, but to get that ability, it costs 4 mana right off the bat. At the beginning of your end step, you could pay 1 to destroy a creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control. Okay, so there's some limitation there, but that means you're going to have to pay 5 mana on that the turn you play it to get any benefit that turn. Also, if your opponent just kills it, which it's really easy to do, it's only a 2/2. But 2/2 for 4 mana is kind of not the best creature, and it's really easy to kill. So any kind of removal spell will take it out almost. And if they do that before your end step, you don't get any value for it. So we're going to kind of just not worry too much about these. Also, milling cards, not super meaningful unless you're in a dedicated mill deck, right? Or some kind of, with rare exceptions. So we're just not going to worry about those. Okay, this one we'll definitely keep though. Crescent Island Temple. Houndens, like I said, kind of too slow. We don't want to just gain life. Also, spending 4 mana for this and waiting until your next upkeep to gain life, it's kind of slow. There's better options. We'll get to them. This one's actually somewhat interesting. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of shrines you control. So this is a way to win, and it's a way to remove creatures. So this is somewhat interesting to us. Okay, Hounded of Life's Web. This makes little 1/1s for each shrine you control. So it's a little bit like Crescent Island Temple, except it costs 1 more, and you have to wait till your next upkeep. So you're waiting till, unless you have ramp, you're waiting till your turn 6, basically, before you get spirits. And they're just 1/1s. These can get bigger because prowess. You have like a mostly non-creature deck or a totally non-creature deck, then every turn spell you cast will make them bigger when you attack, right? So Honed of Life's Web is definitely not the worst, but it feels too slow. Honed of Night's Reach is fun. I've wanted to play this. I think I even tried it out in my Shrines deck just for fun, but it's really not good. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent discards a card for each shrine you control. So the problem with this is that, again, it's a 4-mana enchantment. So it's 4 mana, doesn't do anything as soon as it enters. You have to wait till your next upkeep, so your opponent has a whole turn to do whatever they want to do about it, get out of their hand whatever cards they want to get out, and then they will likely end up discarding their hand. Okay, but then they still draw a card every turn and can do whatever they want with it, right? So because it just comes down to kind of too late to really be super impactful, I don't think it's really useful. Honed of Seeing Winds. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control. This one is interesting because we like card advantage, and this is card advantage. There are just better ones now that they've printed, so we're not going to use this one, almost certainly. But Sanctum of Calm Waters, this one, talking about better card advantage options. So this only costs 4 mana, and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. So there's kind of a couple things different about this. This only costs 4, which is good. This just costs too much. The timing is, you still have to wait till the next turn, which is fine. Not ideal, but you make it work. Then this one has this may clause, which is actually really good because you can be in a spot where you don't actually want to draw the cards. If you happen to have already drawn a lot of cards, you might be in a spot where you don't actually want to draw more cards or else you'll lose. Okay, this one doesn't give you the option. This one does. It also makes you discard a card after you're done, which really doesn't matter. After you draw several cards, you just discard one of the lands you don't need. So that discarding a card really is not a meaningful downside. So we're going to use this one too, I'm sure. I have used this one in my deck, and it's really pretty good. Sanctum of All, this one is a really fun one. So it's all 5 colors, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard. So if someone like destroys one of your shrines, you can just get it back. For a shrine card, put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it, and then if an ability of another shrine you control triggers, while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. So both of these are nice. It'll help you find shrines that you need or get them back from the graveyard or whatnot. It also, anytime if you have at least 6 shrines, anytime you have an ability triggering, then bang, it gets doubled. Okay, so super nice. We'll check into this. It might be a little too expensive. I don't know exactly how expensive it is, but we'll look into it. So now here, Northern Air Temple, this is actually one of the last Airbender ones. So again, when it enters, it gives you something. When another shrine enters, it gives you something. So this one, whenever it enters, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. Whenever another shrine you control enters, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So this is actually super nice. Honed of Cleansing Fire just gained you life. Now, the problem with gaining life is that it doesn't win you the game. It can slow you losing the game. But even if you're just gaining 10 life per turn, if your opponent just has all the time in the world to get out their combo or get big old giant creatures, huge army, whatever, that's not going to win you the game still. And it costs 5 mana. This costs 1 mana, gains you life, and makes your opponent lose life. So that's really good. And this will be a really, really critical part of our deck. Okay. Kyoshi Island Plaza. This one searches for X basic land cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. puts those cards onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And whenever another shrine you control enters, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So I have two problems with this card. I've tried using it in like a standard shrines deck with just the last Airbender shrines, since those are the ones that are available in standard. Problem with this one is that it costs 4 mana, and it doesn't do you any good immediately because the basic lands come into the battlefield tapped. So yes, it gets you lands immediately, but it can't use the mana immediately. And just having more lands doesn't actually mean you have anything to do with those lands. Doesn't mean that you don't die, doesn't mean that your opponent loses. So it really doesn't necessarily do you any good. It is nice, sure, to have more lands. Definitely, that's good. But it costs 4 mana. Once you get up to 4 mana, you kind of don't need as much mana ramp. So it could be good. And maybe I don't know, it could be good. But it just seems too slow. It felt too slow to me, personally. Still could be interesting, potentially. We'll include it in things to check. The other issue with this is that it only lets you search for basic lands. This is a 5-color deck, so we don't actually want that many basic lands. We can use some, potentially, and for a budget deck, we'll probably end up using basic lands. So this one actually might be something we end up using because of that. But even with a budget deck, 5 colors, you really don't want very many basic lands. So we'll see. We'll see how we do this, because we might end up needing to use it. It could work. Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. This one is actually a really good ramp. This one only costs 3. Coming down 1 turn earlier at 3 mana, 1 mana earlier, 2, is actually super meaningful. Like it's a big difference in what you can do to, like, how soon you need to be stabilizing, right? So this one, you're going to end up with more mana on turn 5. This one, you end up with more mana on turn 4. Oftentimes you're dead by turn 5 if you haven't done something meaningful, whereas you often are still alive on turn 4. Okay, so Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest is actually a really good card. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of shrines you control. So it gives you whatever color you want, and it does it every turn, which is really nice. Yes, if you have enough basic lands, like this is probably going to be even better to have played. Like if you have enough basic lands in your deck, then yes, you'd probably prefer to have played a Kyoshi Island Plaza than a Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. That is true. Just because, yeah, they're lands, and you can get into whatever colors you want, whatever. And if someone removes this, you still have the lands, whereas if someone removes Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, you don't get the mana anymore. So there's some pros and cons. The only 3 mana is probably the biggest pro to Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. All right, Sanctum of Shattered Heights. This one is also very valuable. Because this is 3 mana. We need a way to interact with stuff. This one has done a lot of work in my Pioneer Shrines deck. Basically, it lets you pay 1 mana and discard a land card or shrine card, which will be, if not any card from our deck, almost any card in our deck. And then Sanctum Shattered Heights deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of shrines you control. Now, this actually looks somewhat similar to the Honden of Infinite Rage, okay, because it deals damage equal to the number of shrines. There's a couple of key differences. This one does it at the beginning of your upkeep. Once at the beginning of your upkeep. And it deals damage to creature or player, I believe. So there's a chance that, here, let's see, is this Synctum? No. Let's look. There's a chance they've updated it. Oracle text. Ah, okay, they have updated, right. That makes sense. So it's any target. Okay, so you can target players with this. And planeswalkers, because that's not stated here. But the way they updated the way they referenced it, this is now any target. Cool. So you can deal damage to any target, but you can only do it once. This can't deal damage to a player, so it won't specifically win you the game. However, it lets you do it as many times as you have mana and cards in hand to do it, which is very meaningful because your opponents sometimes will have, a 4 toughness creature, and you have 3 shrines. And Sanctum of Shattered Heights will let you remove that creature. Honed of Infinite Rage will let you deal 3 damage to that creature and not kill it. Right? So Sanctum of Shattered Heights is better in that way. It also is just nice because you can play it and use it immediately. So, for example, you can play a Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest on turn 3, and then on turn 4, you have some extra mana, you have a few cards you don't need for whatever reason, you can drop Sanctum of Shattered Heights and remove potentially multiple creatures or planeswalkers or big creatures or whatnot. Okay, so this has actually been a really good card, and a very, very important piece of removal. Also, importantly, this you can do at instant speed, whereas this you cannot. And that is also very, very important because you can just do it whenever you need it on your opponent's turn. Sanctum of Stone Fangs. This one's a crucial one. Sanctum of Stone Fangs says at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. This is honestly just straight up gold for this Shrines deck. And it's one of the ways you'll primarily win the game, honestly. Sanctum Tranquil Light. This one, it's really nice because it only costs a single mana. Kind of like this Northern Air Temple. Sanctum Tranquil Light only costs 1 mana, and you need a critical mass of shrines. You have to have a number of shrines on your battlefield for them to be worth it. So this is really nice for that reason. And the ability is useful. It's not the most stunning ability, but it costs 5 and a white to tap target creature. However, it costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. So if you have 5 shrines, honestly, I mean, even if you have just this 1 shrine, it only costs a total of 5 mana because it makes it counts itself, right? So it makes it cost only 4 and a white. But if you have 3 shrines and so it only costs 2, or even sometimes you can pay 3 and it still be worthwhile if your opponent just has 1 big creature and you can just tap it down. Like, that's pretty good, right? If your opponent's trying to just beat you down with a big dinosaur or something like that, or a big whatever, right? Dragon, angel, fill in the blank with whatever. You can even pay 3 mana and have it be worth it. But especially when you have 5 mana, so you're only paying 1 mana to tap down a creature so that doesn't attack you, that can be really good. Really, really good. So we'll use that as well. Southern Air Temple. This one is an interesting one. It costs 3 and a white, and when it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, where X is the number of shrines you control. And whenever another shrine you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So this is really good with creatures. We don't have a lot of creatures, but we do have some creature creating abilities, right? So Crescent Island Temple, for example, makes monks. And I don't have any creature spells in my Pioneer Shrines deck, but I've still found it nice to have a Southern Air Temple because I can search for it. Or it just comes in and counts as a shrine at the very least, which is actually worth something. Or I can discard it to Sanctum Shattered Heights, or whatever. But if it's on the battlefield and you start making some creature tokens and playing shrines and whatnot, those creatures can get pretty big pretty fast and let you win the game pretty quickly. So we'll consider it. The Spirit Oasis, this one's a really good draw card because it costs only 2 and a blue, and when it enters, you draw a card for each shrine you control. And whenever another shrine you control enters, you draw a card. So this is actually super, super good. Just only costing 3 mana is amazing, and the fact that it draws you a card for each shrine you control when it enters means your opponent, unless your opponent counters it, you're going to draw the cards, which is very good. Because even Sanctum of Calm Waters or one of these, yes, you can draw cards, but you have to wait till your next turn. This, you just get them immediately, so it doesn't give your opponent time to destroy it or whatnot, to make you not draw cards. So that is very nice, and we will definitely be working this in, I'm sure. Okay, so let's go put these into a deck. Okay, so Crescent Island Temple. Good. Honed in of Infinite Rage. Like I said, we probably won't be using this, but we might. Because, price says we might not. For our budget. Okay. That is a consideration. Okay, Sanctum of Calm Waters. We'll get Sanctum of All while we here. Sanctum of Calm Waters, Sanctum of All, Northern Air Temple. Ooh, struggling. Northern Air Temple, perfect. Kyoshi Island Plaza. Kyoshi Plaza. We'll consider that, especially depending on what kind of mana base we have. That could be a good one. Sanctum. Trust. Sanctum Shattered Heights and Fruitful Harvest. Okay, Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. Shattered Heights. All right. And you already get that one. Sanctum of Stone Fangs. Honestly, that one is so valuable. It's not surprising it costs a little extra. Might make it slightly tricky. That might be actually what makes us have to bump up the price on this deck a little bit. We'll see how budget friendly we can make this deck. We'll do our best. But it's a fun deck. Very fun deck, honestly. So I think it's worth a little something. Okay, yeah, so most of these actually do cost a little bit more than will be conducive to a $20 deck. So we'll see. We shall see. Okay, here we go. So let's just sort by price. I think there's only one that we'll for sure just have to kick out. Yeah, Honed in Infinite Rage. It's not as good and it costs a lot more. So we're not even going to try. Sanctum of All is just ridiculously fun. It feels so epic. It does cost a little bit extra, so that might have to come out for the price. And honestly, I wouldn't even put more than one in the deck anyway, so I don't know. Sanctum of Stone Fangs, though, we kind of want 4 of these, so we'll see how this works. A lot of these are actually not too bad. Yeah, none of them are dirt cheap, but it's okay. It is okay. We will take it. Okay, here, Manabase. Yeah, let's show 2. All right, we will toss this egg. Whoop. That wasn't what I meant to do. Sanctum of All. we're going to toss this in the maybe board. I guess it still shows up here, but that's fine. All right, now let's get some lands. Okay, so what lands? There's one land that will be for sure a part of our deck. We're on Mana Gathering. Mana Gathering as a site used to be really easy to use and super valuable. It struggles now. It's very difficult to use to actually find some of these. Some of these you can only find on a small screen like a phone, or if you shrink your window down to only like half your screen, sometimes that'll make it so this menu works properly. Otherwise it doesn't, and it'll only show you dual lands. That's okay. Hopefully they'll get it fixed at some point. White Lotus Hideout. This is a land printed in the Avatar: The Last Airbender set specifically for shrines and lessons, actually. So we're definitely going to be using this. Okay, which does kind of segue into our next thing, because I'm interested in putting lessons in this deck. So this one, it adds colorless or adds 1 mana of any color, which you can spend only to cast a lesson or shrine spell, or kind of importantly, you can pay 1 and tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So very versatile land. It does not enter tapped, which is really valuable. Okay, so White Lotus Hideout. We're going to put that in here. White Lotus Hideout. Okay, because we need, I guess that's funny. Well, we're going to move this actually back. Okay, because I wanted it down here, but putting in the maybe board actually just glued it up there. Okay, all right, so White Lotus Hideout is in. There's another one here. So really want lands that can give us any color. Okay, we really want lands that can give us any color. So we're here on Mana Gathering lands multi. That's probably just typing it in is probably the best way potentially to find it. But we're trying to find lands that will give us mana of any color for not too much money. And starting town just costs like $10. Otherwise, we'd use it. But right now it's in standard, and I imagine as soon as it rotates out of standard, the price will come down because older formats have better options in starting town. But in standard right now, there are a number of decks with many colors, so that's actually a really good one. So yeah, there's a number of these like Seclude Courtyard, or there's a few others that, or at least one other that has a choose a creature type. So a number of them will only let you use it to cast a creature spell. Some will only let you cast an artifact spell, whatnot. There are some like this. Enters tapped, and you have to pay 1. That's really bad. Really bad. It feels too slow to actually be useful. This one enters tapped. You have to tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. So that doesn't really work for us. Yeah, this one lets you tap an artifact, which we're not just gonna have tons of artifacts. So yeah, this one, oh, elemental, only for elemental. Okay. This one lets you use it to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. Plaza of Heroes. I use this in my Pioneer deck, and it's incredibly useful because it lets you add a mana of any color to cast legendary spells, which all of the spells are legendary. Or you can add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control, or just add colorless. Super good, super good. Problem is the cheapest version is like $10, so it's not really going in our deck right now. But that's okay. This one only lets you cast multicolored spells. With that. That's just for commander. Yeah, so there is another one that I know of. So this one could be useful potentially, but it costs a lot. Pilot or vehicle. So this is something though that I do. Oh, there's ally, yeah. When I'm building a deck, definitely one of the things I spend a decent amount of time on is figuring out the mana base. Oftentimes, that's just super useful, super beneficial. If you don't have a good mana base, your deck doesn't work. If you have a really good mana base, then your deck can work. That's typically how it works. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Add 1 mana of any color that a gate you control could produce. Okay. And gates you control enter the battlefield untapped. It is slightly interesting. It does cost $1.36, but that is slightly interesting. Gond Gate. Gates are all dual lands that typically enter tapped. But this makes them enter untapped. And you add 1 mana of any color that a gate you control could produce. So that's somewhat interesting. I haven't built a gate mana base before. Grand Colosseum. Add 1 mana of any color. This land deals 1 damage to you. Oh, that's actually potentially a really good card for us. Grand Colosseum. So let's see, Grand Colosseum. Yeah, it enters tapped, which is not ideal, but especially with a budget deck, you take what you can get. And sometimes that is tapped lands, especially if you're trying to do an aggressive mana base of like 5 colors. But the really cool thing is it taps for colorless, or it taps for a mana of any color, and it deals 1 damage to you. That's really nice because if you have a way to make the mana without taking a damage, then you can do that and just use the colorless. And our shrines, basically all except for Sanctum of all of them just cost a single one of a color, and then the rest is colorless. So Grand Colosseum, ooh, that's good. That's a good find. And see, that's why I look through this list, because I wasn't aware of the Grand Colosseum, for example. It was not on my radar. So this one only lets you cast an instant or sorcery spell with any color. Awesome. Yes, there's another one, enters tap. There's a few of them. Some kind of version of entering tapped, and you have to sacrifice it unless you pay some cost. So that's not going to work. Oh, Time Lord or Alien Spell. Hey. So let's see. Well, this one gives your opponent a creature, 1/1 creature. We don't really want that, and it costs $10. So we're just gonna move on. But there's actually one deck I've looked into building that would want to use this card just to give your opponent a 1/1. That's one thing I like about Magic, is that it's so deep that there are ways of taking advantage of what's supposed to be a downside. All right. Exotic Orchard. This is a funny one. Add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. In Commander, that's really good because you have like 3 opponents generally, and generally someone going to have every color that you want. But we're not going to do that. This one is interesting. Enters tapped. When it enters battlefield, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's actually not the worst idea, but it's not the best either. Because then after that, it only gives you colorless. Yeah, hopefully we can get something better. Corrupted Crossroads. Okay, I was supposed only to cast spell with the void now. Man Towers for Commander. Shocking. Okay, this one's only for creatures. This one, yeah, adds 1 mana of any color. See, this is why I like Grand Colosseum, is because you can get colorless from Grand Colosseum without it dealing damage to you or anything. This one, anytime it becomes tapped, deals 1 damage to you. And it does cost a little bit more than we're probably interested in. I imagine that it doesn't have a significantly cheaper version. We can check though. Okay. This one though actually was interesting to me. So Command Bridge, it fits the theme of several others where it enters tapped and you have to pay a cost. Unless you, and if you don't, you have to sacrifice it. But this is more intriguing than many of the others. So when this land enters, sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped permanent you control. Permanent. Not land, not artifact like we've seen before. Permanent, okay? And that's important because we are going to have permanents, hopefully. We will have, well, we'll have lands, so you can just tap a land to pay that cost, but not really cost, but to satisfy that requirement. However, you can tap one of your shrines, and shrines don't care about being tapped. It doesn't mess them at all. So Command Bridge could actually be really, really good. Now, do we want a bunch of them? No, likely not. But a couple probably would be just fine because we don't want it can't be the first land you play. If it's the second land you play and you don't have anything else, like you haven't been able to play one of these, then it costs some mana to not sacrifice it. Here, this one. So we probably wouldn't play a full play set of Command Bridge, but we might play a couple. Very well might play a couple. Okay, only artifacts. Mount spell. Okay. Hero. Also, that hasn't even come out yet. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Assassin. Creatures. Allies. Creature. There's actually quite a few that let you have any mana of any color to cast a creature spell. Okay, this one, Ether Hub. It's slightly more interesting than Crumbling Vestige, because you can choose when in this deck, you would just choose which one-time use you got out of it. Wouldn't have to be the turn you entered, and it doesn't enter tap. Yeah, so this one enters the battlefield, you get an energy counter, and then you can either just tap it to add colorless to your mana pool, or tap it and pay an energy counter to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. That would be really nice in an energy deck. Yay, which is not what we're doing. Excuse me. So it would just be a one-time use kind of thing. Likely not what we want, but could be interesting. Okay, we have some lands. We're definitely having 4 White Lotus hideouts. We definitely want 4 Grand Colosseums, a couple Command Bridges, City of Brass. Like I said, I think we're gonna quickly just optimize the printings. Okay. Just to get the better prices. So yeah, City of Brass, the cheapest one is $10.42. That's cool. And someone else can have it. Gond Gate, I don't think that's really what we want to do. Let's look at them though. It could be interesting. Now I'm at a thought. There is a gate. Let's see. Pretty sure. Maze's End is a gate. No? Okay. Here. Okay. Maze's End. Enters tapped. Tap to add colorless. You can pay 3 mana and tap it to return this land to its owner's hand. Search library for a gate card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. That is interesting. Okay, now I'm intrigued. I was not planning on exploring this option, but now I am intrigued. Because what if you're playing a shrine stack, but you also had the ability to just win with a Maze's End? Huh. That would be intriguing. Very intriguing. Okay, let's look at some of these other gates. So we have most of these guild gates. We have 10 of them. They are all just gates. They enter tapped, and they tap to add one of two colors. Okay, slightly boring. They're great. These, though, what sets this from? Battle for Baldur's Gate? Okay, yeah. Battle for Baldur's Gate. These gates, they enter tapped still. When they enter, though, you choose a color other than whatever color they produce automatically. And then you can tap it for either whatever you chose or the other one. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, because that means you can get whatever you want. Now I'm thoroughly intrigued. Because that's actually because then say you need a green, for example, so you can play your Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. Say you need that. You can just choose green and it becomes a green-red dual land. Or you can choose green with this one, and it's a green-white dual land. Whatever works. That's nice. Because then you're not locked into whatever dual lands showed up. Okay. Let's look at some of these others. Okay, we've got this one, Baldur's Gate. Ooh. Add 2 mana, 2 tap. Add X mana of any one color where X is the number of other gates you control. Oh. Wonder how much that costs. Okay, it costs probably a little outside of our price range. Okay, yeah, $3 is going to be outside of our price range for sure. But that would be fun. That would be fun. Potentially, but it's fine. So let's see. This one, target creature gets +X/+X until turn where X is the number of gates you control. Yeah, that's not happening. But Black Dragon Gate. Let's just see how much a few of these cost. Here. So Black Dragon Gate. Okay, this is potentially doable. Yeah, this deck might end up being a little more. We'll see. Black Dragon Gate. Black Dragon Gate. Citadel Gate. Because this could just be a really fun way to build this deck that I have definitely not explored before. This is honestly what I love about deck building. Okay, Gaunt Gate we already have. And we would, if we're going to go this route, we'd have to have like 4 copies of Gaunt Gate. Honestly, at least 3. At least 3, I imagine. It doesn't help us with their mana, with their colors of mana, except that it makes gates you control into the battlefield untapped, which is huge. Because then, if you have a Gaunt Gate out, you can play a Black Dragon Gate, choose whatever color you need, unless you need black, in which case, great. Doesn't matter what other color you choose. But then just play it, enters untapped, and bingo. You're off to the races. So we would need probably 4 Gaunt Gates. Okay, Heap Gate. This one, I doubt we'd want Heap Gate. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't enter tapped. That's what's nice about it. Okay, we'll think about it. C8. Okay, that's the blue one. Ooh, why is that more? Huh, interesting. Cool. Manor Gate. Maybe it's because blue has a harder time getting other colors. So we put that in a blue deck. Other colors? I don't know. Okay. Okay, so that's interesting. And we'll put Maze's End in here. This might end up being slightly more expensive than I was planning. But really epic. Epic. Here, is this foil? Oh, was it only printed in foil? In Foundations? Apparently so. Yeah. You go to... Yeah, there's not a non-foil option. Interesting. Cool. Okay, well, let's keep looking at these gates. So, Thran Portal. Thran Portal enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. As Thran Portal enters the battlefield, choose a basic land type. Thran Portal is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Mana abilities of Thran Portal cost an additional 1 life to activate. Ooh, the Thran Portal could be really good. Let's see how much it costs. Because it would give us... oh, nice. Okay. Because we can... It enters tapped unless you can... Oh, okay, it's not fast. It's slow. Sorry. So it enters tapped unless you have 2 or fewer other lands. Good. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Sorry, I misread it the second time I read it. So yes. So basically, if it's the first, second, or third land you have, then it enters untapped, which is very valuable because you want to be able to play like a Northern Air Temple, turn 1. You know, the more untapped possibilities we have, the better. Okay, the Black Gate. You pay 3 life to have it enter untapped. Okay. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that controls. Okay. This is probably not that useful. Telling Gates of Madeira. Also, I imagine this is going to be pretty expensive. Just guessing. Yeah. It seems like something for Commander that would probably be good in Commander. Okay. Talon Gates of Madara. Tap. Okay, enters the battlefield. Up to 1 target creature phases out. Interesting. We're not using that. Okay, and then we have like the guild gates, all the guild gates. What a great lot of guild gates there are. Okay, so let's start getting guild gates. Zorius, Oros, Demir, Bulgari, Gruel, Borsov, is it? Rakdos, Selesnya, Simic. Okay. Zorius. Zorius Guild Gate. These are cheaper. In part because they're generally not they're not great lands. Because they enter tapped. And they don't give you a specific other benefit. Like they don't give you life or scry or something. In this deck, though, we could potentially with Mage's End. This give us another fun way to win. We'll have to see. We don't want too awkward of a mana base. The thing is, though, what I was kind of thinking is that we might end up with that awkward mana base. So just to try to keep the price down. So I'm curious if maybe we can have a slightly awkward mana base with a really fun random way to win. You know what I mean? So just to make the game deck more interesting. Okay, there we go. Here we have it. Okay, now we have 30 lands. Should be enough lands. Okay, we'll drop the command bridge down. About Colosseum. See, Grand Colosseum just would be really good. We might not need to go gate option. Okay, we're definitely having 4 White Lotus hideouts. Okay, we're gonna need at least 24 lands. Okay, I'm just gonna leave those where they're at right now, and we'll edit the numbers later. Okay, so right now we're gonna start working on the rest of our deck, and we're gonna put that up. Here, let's synctum of. Oop. Need interaction. Need cards. Ways to win. Okay, how many? 53 cards right now. So there is something else I was wondering about adding into this deck, and that is lessons. So for the advanced, we are going to look for the learn mechanic. Okay. So learn. Learn was a mechanic in the original Strixhaven set, Strixhaven School of Mages set. It was kind of an interesting, fun mechanic. Basically, to learn, you can reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. Okay. In this deck, we likely wouldn't be just discarding a card to draw a card. Though I have seen one deck that actually used made use of both of those. It's kind of interesting. But the really cool thing is that you basically can access your sideboard during the game, which is really cool. And in casual, you don't generally get to use sideboards because, I don't know, most casual players don't want you to sideboard against them. I don't know why not. No. There's good reasons. But cool thing is that even though the original lessons, many of them were kind of lackluster. Not all of them were. Some of them were interesting. But many of the original lessons were a little lackluster because the learn mechanic was kind of powerful in standard or draft or whatnot. I wasn't playing at the time. I don't know if it was actually good in draft, but the idea was that it could be a little broken in like standard or whatnot if cards with the learn mechanic were good and cards with the lesson mechanic were really good. You could have some issues with a limited card pool, whether it was in a limited event or just standard or whatnot. Okay. So they kind of made them overcost. So a lot of the original lessons, many of them are kind of expensive for what you get. So this is like 3 mana to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Okay, and maybe making a little 1/1. Okay. Maybe not in everything we want. Like this one, 3 mana to put 2+1/++ encounters on target creature. And it gains vigilance until end of turn. At sorcery speed. Okay, you probably that's not super valuable in most cases. Okay. But it worked back then. The cool thing is, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, they brought back lessons. Not the learn mechanic, but lessons. And they actually made some really good ones. Yeah, really good ones. So we can see about using some of those. So I'm actually going to, back here, we're going to search for lessons that aren't terribly expensive, because this deck is already getting a little expensive. We don't want any, we don't even really want to look at too many expensive lessons. I don't know if there are any. Okay, so here's Aang's Journey. This one's actually probably a good idea for our deck. Cost 2 mana with kick or 2, search your library for a basic land card. If this spell is kicked, instead search your library for a basic land card and a shrine card. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle. You gain 2 life. Okay. I used to use this in my shrine deck. I found it was a little clunky, and so I took it out. However, if we can just put it into our hand from our sideboard, it could actually be worth it to have 1 in there. Not quite so much for the basic land search, though that hypothetically could be useful depending on what a Manabase is like. But being able to search for a shrine can be nice. Honestly, the shrine I ended up searching for the most was actually Northern Air Temple. For 2 reasons. One is if you can win the game immediately by playing it and making your opponent lose a bunch of life, that's nice. It also only costs a single black. So, well, after paying for 2 + 2, then I would have I could still have mana left. Especially if I searched for a swamp, because you can search for both. If you kick it, say I start with 4 mana, I could pay that, search for a swamp, and that Northern Air Temple, put into my hand, play the swamp, play the Northern Air Temple, win the game. Or at least stay alive longer. Be closer to winning the game. So that can work. So we'll probably think about putting that in. This one, probably not so much. Academic Probation, what's this one? Ones can't cast spells. Probably not. Okay. Accumulate Wisdom. No, this is more for a different deck. A different kind of deck. More of a lessons dedicated deck. And not just a sideboard thing. Nope. Creature cards. So what we're wanting with this is we're wanting to be able to learn and pull something that will help us win the game from our sideboard. Now, destroy target attacking creature, it's probably not quite good enough. This one is not quite good enough because we don't have a lot of lessons. If you're playing a deck with a lot of lessons, though, it can be really nice. Planeswalkers, yeah, no. Okay, so 3 mana to destroy target artifact, yeah. That's much. I think there's a better one later. Like I said, the ones from Avatar are often better costed. Yeah, and choose one of those. Oh. You have to sacrifice a creature. We don't really want that. Okay. Daily Indoctrination. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land permanent card from it. Attack player discards that card. Okay, hypothetically, that could be good. If you know that your opponent has something that you don't want to have to deal with. Okay. Like a combo piece. Only a permanent card, though. Or you can Earthbend too. That's not say super useful for us, but that's fine. That first one, though, I could see it being useful, so that might be one of sideboard. Also, I imagine this is pretty cheap. Yeah, 12 cents. Okay. Cycle of Renewal. Search time for up to 2 basic land cards. Okay, worth it. Earthbend 3, then Earthbend 3, you gain 2 life. Okay, cool. Earthbending Lesson, Earthbend 4. Okay. Okay, so this one, yeah, 5 mana for a 4/4. Cool. I don't think we need that. Search library for up to 4 line cards with different names and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay. Now that's interesting. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard. The rest onto the battlefield tapped. Okay, I'm not immediately sure how you would use that with the gate. No, I think yeah, you could use this with the gate plan pretty well. As long as you don't mind a couple of your lands ending up in the graveyard. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, energy bending, we don't need that. Fancy footwork, nope. No, environmental sciences, no. Aang's journey is better than this. It has the other option. Into the avatar state, no. Firebending lesson, this one's actually very useful. We'd put this one in because it deals 2 damage to target creature. If the spell is kicked, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. So we're definitely playing Firebending lesson. Fractal summoning is just get a creature. Okay. The thing is, hypothetically, you could use this one. Creatures target player controls get +2/+0. You could hypothetically use that to make your creatures bigger. But if you're getting creatures and whatnot from your Crescent Island Temple anyway, you're winning the game anyway, and you don't need this. So, Illuminate History. Discard any or no. Pyro's Demonstration. Yes, this one. It deals 1 damage to each creature your opponent's control, or it deals 4 damage to target creature. Definitely putting that one in. Introduction to Annihilation. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller draws a card. I think putting one of these in would be good as just like a failsafe. Get rid of anything. Potentially, yeah. And it's 5 colorless, or 5 generic mana. It'll quench you. So here's a counter spell. I doubt that would be useful to pull from your sideboard. Could hypothetically think about it, but it only it makes them pay 2 extra. Maybe. If you're playing against a combo deck, I could see that being useful, or something like that. But maybe that. Creature or no, that's cost 5. Mascot. Exhibition. Oh yeah, you make like 3 different. It's fun. Okay. Origin of Metal Bending. This one's good. Cost 2 mana, instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Or you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control and gains indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, you wouldn't be really doing that very often. However, it could hypothetically come up. Exile target creature or planeswalker. You have to exile creature you control? No. Not interesting. Size cruelty. Does 2 damage target player. That player discards 2 cards. Yeah, no, that's not something you can get. Destroy target artifact or land an opponent controls. Control my search library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle, draw a card. Yeah, Price of Freedom could be good. Reckless Blaze deals 5 damage to each creature. Whenever creature you control deal damage this way, dies this turn, and red. So it's kind of a board wipe. Oh, interesting. Okay, that could be useful. We'll have to see what the cost is on some of these. It does cost double red. This one costs double white. Exile target online permanent. This controller creates a 3/2. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. No. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Ruinous waterbending. Okay. So this could be good. Could be good. And you have to have black anyway. Okay, shared roots. Basic land card. Nope. Top X cards to be library. Okay. This one, I mean, this one is nice because it puts onto the battlefield tapped. Aang's Journey just puts into your hand. Let's see, what does, hold on. Yeah, Environmental Sciences also just puts into your hand. So shared roots, the battlefield tapped is nice, but again, it's not something you're going to be pulling from your sideboard. You have better things to do. Almost certainly. Okay, Secret Bloodbending, no. Scarring Memory. No, Soka's Haiku. Soka's Haiku is problem just because it costs 5 mana. But I mean, countering just a hard counter that you could get, that's kind of nice, but no. I don't really think that's gonna actually be that useful. Okay. No. Okay, yeah, we have better stuff to do than that. Okay, so we're going to add card to the sideboard. All right. Journey. Okay. Diley. Doctrination. So we're just going to put all these in, just elemental teachings. There we go. We're going to put all these in here, and then we can just look at them and see if it would really be worth it or not. Because having access to a bunch of different removal spells or whatnot could be useful. It could be. Introduction to Annihilation. Introduction. Annihilation. Yeah. Origin. So, for example, Origin of Metal Bending, letting you having the ability to go find something to deal with an artifact or enchantment in the case of playing against a deck that has really important artifacts or enchantments can be really good. I haven't done that in my Pioneer Shrine deck. I have actually seen another Pioneer Shrine deck using a lesson sideboard. And they beat me too. So, anyways, I just haven't done that. But there's one reason why I was like, this could be interesting. And it is nice that like White Lotus Hideout lets us make mana for shrines or lessons, and then Aang's Journey lets us search for a shrine and it's a lesson. So there's some tie-ins there. Just turn did we already get that one? Yeah, we did. Ruinous Waterbending. Okay. All right. Well, that's our lesson sideboard right there. And see, we have 12 lessons for $3. So that gives us a lot of different options. And, honestly, I would probably go in here and bump that up to 2. And I would bump an Iroh's demonstration up to 2, up to 15. And I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. Depends on what you have. Honestly, depending on how you build the deck, Soka's Haiku hypothetically could be interesting. We can toss it in here. It's almost certainly a bad idea because it costs 5 mana. It's ridiculous. Honestly, it could be fun just to have, just for funsies. But anyways, we'll look at this later. Okay, we're going to go look for the learn mechanic now. All right, so what do we have here? Target creature blocks this turn if able. You may have a gain reach until end of turn. Learn. So single red mana. In our mostly creature-free deck, this isn't actually going to be that useful, except for learning. So it's basically pay a red mana to go get something from your sideboard. That's not the worst. Honestly, really not the worst. But I think we can do better. But we'll think about that. Arcane Subtraction. Target creature gets -4, -0 until end of turn. Learn. No. Especially for 2 mana, we really need to be doing something more than that. Prime Session, you gain 4 life. Learn. Okay, interesting. Divide by 0. Return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand. Learn. Okay. That costs 3 mana though. Field Trip. Search library for a basic forest card. Put the card on the battlefield. Tap. Then shuffle. Learn. Eye Twitch. Eye Twitch. This is one that's actually really interesting because it costs only a single black mana. When an Eye Twitch dies, learn. This one's nice because if our opponent has removal, they kind of don't want to remove it. Because then they'll search for our library. That's how you search our sideboard, so I'm put it into our hand. Now, one issue. Oh, it's interesting. This solved. It says whenever it becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it. Someone can exile Eye Twitch and you don't get anything. And we don't have any way of sacrificing it ourselves, though technically you could use this. Yeah, you could kill it with Sanctum Shattered Heights, apparently. Not what you're going to want to do most of the time. But hypothetically, you could. However, it's just a creature. It's a creature that can block and save you from dying a little bit. So that's nice. Target creature, no. Not so much. No, we don't want to really pay 4 mana for Guiding Voice. But no. Hunt for Specimens. This one costs 2 mana. Create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life and learn. That's actually interesting because it gives you a creature that can block and also gain you a life or attack technically. And it lets you learn and only for 2 mana. That's actually kind of interesting. Okay. Is that better than just gaining 4 life? That's a good question. It's a really good question because Hunt for Specimens specifically costs black and 1. Yeah. Huh. Okay, so it's an interesting question. Which is better? Honestly, okay, I'm interested in Hunt for Specimens. I'm actually kind of interested in Crime Session. Gain 4 life is not worth 2 mana by itself, but it could be interesting to gain 4 life and learn for 2 mana, where there's an option of what color you spend. It could be good. It could be good. I'll think about it. Okay, Poet's Quill. That's interesting. We don't really have enough creatures to reliably equip it to get lifelink, but it's a cool one. Okay, and let's see. None of these. This is you have to sacrifice it. When this enters the battlefield, learn. Okay, then you get a 2/1, and you immediately get to learn. Okay, potentially interesting. Tap up to 2 target creatures and learn. Okay, could be interesting. Could be interesting. Okay, well, let's see what we think about this. So, yeah, because Academic Dispute would basically be single red mana to, at instant speed, put something into our hand from our sideboard. That's basically, that adds red to whatever mana cost. Okay, so would Origin of Metal Bending be useful, like be worth it, if it cost 1 green and a red? Maybe. That's kind of a lot. 3 mana to get rid of an artifact or enchantment is kind of a lot, but it could be useful. 3 mana to get rid of a creature. That's kind of a lot. 6 mana to get rid of an online permanent. That's really a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Elemental Teachings, if we go the gate route, could be interesting. We have extra gates we don't need. Yeah, I don't really think we want to do this, but analyst, it's only $1. Oh, it's heading into our sideboard. Yeah, this one is used for graveyard shenanigans with land decks. It isn't really a land deck. It's supposed to be a shrine deck. So, you really don't want to dilute the shrine density because otherwise things are problems. Things have problems. So let's try this. Let's try putting Academic Dispute. More interest in Eye Twitch because, like I said, you get some benefit. And for specimens, Ram session, Professor of Symbology. That's these Professor of Symbology. Like I said, we don't really want to put a lot of mana into getting creatures, but it is interesting. Yeah, I've also put Study Break. Okay, so the problem with Study Break is that our opponent might not be playing creatures too much. So I don't think this is going to be that useful. Professor Symbology is interesting because it costs 2 mana. And you immediately get to learn. And it's a 2/1. It's a 2/1 creature, so that's nice. Eye Twitch is nice because it costs only a single mana. There's some interesting stuff. I kind of don't want to do this one because it doesn't give us any value. So I'm going to remove it. Ram Session, I don't know, paying 2 mana to gain 4 life just does not feel worth it. I would rather pay 2 mana to get a 2/1 creature, generally speaking. I don't know. I don't know if that fully makes sense, but hunt for specimens. Pay 2 mana to get a 1/1 creature that might give us life and learn. These two are remarkably similar, except this one could give you life, but it's just a 1/1. This is a 2/1. And this one costs black. Thing is that there's technically the option of decreasing the number of colors that we use. Technically. I don't know. Because this is a lot of black. A lot of black and red. I wonder if we could do a deck, just like a Rakdos. No, you need, I mean, it's an interesting question. If you take out white, white's probably the easiest one to take out, but you take out Sanctum Tranquil Light, which is not, like I said, not the most powerful one, but it's a 1 mana shrine. And a 1 mana shrine is actually very useful. It's very important to have a critical density of shrines. Because when you think about it, if you play turn 1 Sanctum Tranquil Light, turn 2 Sanctum Stone Fangs, on turn 3 you gain 2 life and your opponent loses 2 life. And then you play turn 3, you play another like a 3 mana shrine. Turn 4, you gain 3 life, your opponent loses 3 life. You've gained 2 more life and your opponent's lost 2 life just because of Sanctum Tranquil Light, which can make a difference. Especially then the next turn, every turn it just adds up. Or as soon as you start playing Northern Temples, same kind of idea. Spirit Oasis draws you an extra card. Sanctum Shattered Heights. Having a Sanctum Tranquil Light might mean the difference between Sanctum Shattered Heights being able to take out a creature or planeswalker and not, like that. So that is interesting. But if you remove it, only go down to 4 colors. That could work. Could work. Especially if you have a good enough reason. Like if you're playing, for example, you play iTwitch instead of Sanctum Tranquil Light, so that you can then put stuff into your hand. And maybe use Sanctum Shattered Heights and maybe use the Honed of Infinite Rage too. I don't know. This is an interesting possibility. Because also, if we trim down the number of colors, then we could actually have a much easier mana base, which could be valuable. Could be. Could be. Now, blue is good to have for the card advantage it offers. Looks like we already took out the 4 mana blue. Here, which was that? Sanctum of Calm Waters. Where's that? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Sorry, I got confused with how it was stacking things. So Sanctum of Calm Waters is down here. Yes, Sanctum of Calm Waters Yeah, so white would take out Southern Air Temple, which would also not be the end of the world. But the difference between having a 5-color deck and a 4-color deck is probably not that much. Going down to 3 would make things a lot easier. One would have to be black. Black is Northern Air Temple, Sanctum of Stone Fangs. You have to have black if you're going to do a shrine deck, I feel like. Red is also really important. You need a way to win the game. You need some way to interact. Sanctum of Shattered Heights is interaction. Crest Island Temple is interaction in the form of blockers and also winning the game just by attacking. I'm kind of almost curious if you could build like a black and red shrine deck. Huh. What would it look like? Would it be a little bit more control where you'd use Honed in Infinite Rage for sure. And yeah, you could do some of these learn stuff, so you could use some more control elements. With green, yeah, I don't know. With green, it opens up some really good things over here, like Origin and Metal Bending. Really, Origin and Metal Bending is the only one that's too interesting over there. Yeah, it does let you start casting more. Like the ramp is important. Sanctum Fruitful Harvest's ramp is important. See, that's one thing that's kind of cool. There's a lot of different routes you could go. Okay. Let's see. This is just a copy. I made a copy. And we're going to just try cutting out white. We're going to cut out white and just see what we have. And curious about cutting out one more color. What is one more color that we could remove? Let's go get the Honden, Infinite Rage, because we'll just consider that as well. Because also Sanctum Shattered Heights is less interesting if you don't have the Spirit Oasis. Or Sanctum Calm Waters. Because the cool thing is, if you draw, essentially infinite cards, you can dump cards into this. Doesn't matter. But if we go down, okay. So now, out white, we also are only trying to do black at first. Like all of our cheap stuff is black, which is also nice. Kind of want to just take a look at it. And honestly, it's kind of interesting. You'd have to have, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Thinking about it. Thinking. So you'd be using like Hunt for Specimens or Cram Session to gain life, clog up the board. iTwitch also clog up the board and let you get stuff from your sideboard that would be, board wipes for little creatures or just creature removal. Board wipes. Stuff like that. Board wipe. Yeah, I'm curious. Then could you do, okay, I feel like if you're going to do 4 colors, you might as well do 5. But let's see what would happen if you went down to 2 colors. Let's just see what you'd have. You wouldn't need, we don't need to go through all of these, but Select all. And we can just delete them. Okay, then White Lotus, Hideout, definitely include. And we can just get swamps and mountains. Okay, and those are very expensive swamps and mountains. Let's get the cheapest ones. Shall we? Here. Oh, Honed and Infinite Range was expensive. It was a bit expensive too. Okay, what's 100 Knight's Reach? It's cost 3 mana? Okay. $3? Yeah, and this is the one that's probably not useful anyway. Okay. So now what would this be like? How would you do this? Okay, so these are only 4. It's only 4. See, this could be the issue then with this one. Here, let's look. We're going to search for shrines. Black or red. Oh, no. Didn't do that right. At most, these colors. There we go. So yeah, you'd have to have some other one. Yeah. Goshen Tide, Ancient Wars. Yeah, Honden, it would, I think like this one you would have to use the Honden Infinite Rage. Goshen Tide, Ancient Wars potentially as well. And Honden Knight's Reach. Curious. Goshen Tide, Ancient Wars. Goshen Tide, Ancient Wars. And what was the other one? Goshen Tide of Hidden Cruelty. Goshen Tide of Hidden Cruelty. We're just gonna see what this would be like. Whoa. Goshen Tide of Hidden Cruelty. Those are pretty cheap. Honden Infinite Rage. Honden of Knight's Reach. I think that's all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's all of them. Okay. Then you take out this one. Take out Origin Metal Bending. That one. Definitely take out that one. Yeah, and then this would be really useful because you could get rid of an artifact or enchantment with that. Or an enchantment, really. Because Price of Freedom will let you take out an artifact. Okay. This one. Then you could just have like one of each of those. Okay. This one. Ocean Tide of Ancient Wars. How many cards do you have in our deck right now? Oh, we don't have nearly enough of these. I'm just going to bump it up to basically placeholder. Use some dual lands or something. Okay. We need more cards. Oh yeah, we need twitches, specimens. Yeah, that's 60. So this is 60 cards, $26. That's, yeah, this one, under Knight's Reach, we can take out under Knight's Reach without losing really any value. Under of Infinite Rage, take this out too. I don't really want to go up on Goshen Tide of Hidden Cruelty. Really think it's that valuable. Honestly, having like Duress or something like that would probably be better. Rest. Creature. Or I think Thoughtseize is too much money. Yeah. Thoughtseize. We're going to find a better than. We're going to see if there's something better than Duress. Reveal and discard card. Black. And we'll have it mana value equal to 1. And we're going to have the price less than $1. Okay. Creature Planeswalker. Honestly, Duress might be the best one. Artifact or creature. Yeah, Duress is probably the best. Positional Kozilek, yeah. You want to get rid of like combo pieces, especially. Or removal for your enchantments. Yeah. I'm gonna say that. Yeah. Duress is actually the best. We'll put a couple of them in. Okay, so that would be $20 or less. Interesting. And that's with our sideboard. Now, Whitelotus Hideout wouldn't work for us, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, now here's what I see as a potential issue. We have 14 cards in our main deck that don't do anything for our direct like way to win, right? Which I feel like is a bit of an awkward spot to be in. So like we can playtest this, and we'll just pretend the lands are they just give us anything. So like here, let's keep this. So like I said, we're just pretending that lands just give us anything because we didn't want to take the time to worry about the land. The Manabase. Okay, so we duress our opponent, make him discard something. Okay, and then we can cram session, gain 4 life. So our life goes up, but we haven't actually done anything yet. So say we put an Iroh's Demonstration into our hand, or maybe a Ruinous Waterbending, one of the two. We'll say an Iroh's Demonstration. Move this to our hand. Then go to our next turn, and we're playing our first Shrine on turn 3. And the problem with that is that they're all kind of useless. So this Goshen Time Ancient Wars, at the beginning of your upkeep, end step. So this is at the beginning of your end step. You may pay 1. So it really does nothing except be a 2/2 with first strike, which you're playing on turn 3 as your first creature. So that's just honestly probably going to get removed. Like almost everyone has removal for creatures. So that's just going to get gone if you play that. Or if you play Sanctum Shattered Heights, it doesn't do anything either until you pay 1 and discard a card, and then it's only dealing 1 damage. So maybe better than the other one. Anyways, let's try this. Okay, so next turn we don't have another land, so we can duress our opponent and Iroh's Demonstration our opponent. Some of their creatures. Oh, good. Now we can play Goshen Tide of Ancient Wars and beginning of your end step if it's still alive. You can deal 2 damage. You can pay 1 to deal 2 damage. Or, yeah, like, okay, here. But see, we're not really winning the game right now. We're not really doing anything to win. We're just removing some stuff, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. So this wouldn't work, but it's possible that you just have to mulligan until you get. See, the Northern Air Temple is not going to gain you enough life. You'd basically have to. I feel like you'd have to mulligan until you got a Kingdom Stone Fangs. Yeah, I don't think this is actually going to work. So this is a good experiment. Okay, a really good experiment. Alrighty, so I think we're kind of done with this. That experiment, I didn't really go in a direction I wanted to keep pursuing. I think we're just going to switch back to the 5 color. That's kind of how I felt. You could try a 3 color one, I don't know. But 5 color is kind of fun too. Okay, so let's try and make this one work. Let's see how we do it. Okay, so we have a little bit more room in our deck. So we can bump this one up. Could take out the learn and lesson mechanic completely if we wanted to. We really see. Yeah, we could trim like a Kyoshi Island Plaza, especially if we're doing gates. We'd trim that Kyoshi Island Plaza for sure. Okay, we can look at those details in a little bit. Let's figure out the lands. So right now we have a bunch of gates, a lot of gates. We also have an ether hub. Let's see. With categories. And let's make a new category. We're going to say this is a, well, let's actually make a new category with gates. Basically, the gates are what will play. Oh, create a category. Gate. Yep. Okay, cool. Category. Great. Okay. So now we're going to have all the gates. We'll just put into the gates category. Gate. Command bridge. That way you can see our kind of 2 different options for how we can roll. See, Grand Coliseum stays. Gruel Guild Gate. Keep Gate was also a gate. Maze's End is not a gate, but goes with the gates. Sea Gate. Okay, perfect. Well, there's a lot of different cards. Okay, so if we go with the non-gates, we have White Lotus Hideouts. We have Grand Coliseum. We have Command Bridge, which you can have at least 2 of, potentially run up to 4 of. Ether Hub, which you could have at least a couple of, probably. Could have Command Bridge. I don't know. Command Bridge is slightly risky. Okay, but the cool thing is, like, Grand Coliseum, it enters tapped, but yeah, okay. Cool. So that would work. Now, we would need some either basic lands or our or like dual lands or whatnot. Would need some of that. Yeah, let's see. At this point, I'm interested in trying out the multiversal passage. How about that? I imagine this is going to be expensive. Yeah, it is. Okay. When it enters, you choose a basic land type. Then you pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. And it's the chosen type. You can just choose what it is and it can enter untapped. Okay, so then let's see. What these dual lands are like. So we have ones that just enter tapped. We have verges. I think the verges are all a little more expensive. We have shock lands that are all a little outside the price range. Pretty sure. They were just reprinted, but still pretty sure that they're going to be outside the price range. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's less than they used to be, so that's cool. Okay, we can, I imagine these are pretty cheap. Basically, there are lots of tapped lands. Cheap. These are actually not as cheap. We have ones that turn into creatures. Probably not the most useful. We have these as well that are fast lands. Fast lands are interesting. Let's see what Concealed Courtyard costs. Concealed Courtyard, it's not too much. It's not really expensive, but it's a little too much for our deck. That's really what that is. How about some of these others? Blooming Marsh. A little bit more. Okay, so that's probably a little outside the price range. Okay, Gainlands. Those are pretty bad. Copperline Gorge. Okay, so then these are also fastlands. Tapped. Yeah. These are fastlands in standard. These are the fastlands in Pioneer. Okay, well let's imagine these are too expensive as well. We could try Seachrome Coast. Seachrome Coast. Oh, not too bad. Seachrome Coast. Dual land, let's see. Dark Slick Shores. This is why you have to try. See. Okay, so some of these are and some of these aren't. Okay, cool. Black Cleave Cliffs. Okay, so maybe most of them are too expensive. Copperline Gorge. It really depends on, if they've reprinted some of them, but not others, like in Commander decks or something, or if they've, let's see, Razorverge Thicket. See, this is going to be reprinted in this one, so it's more. Oh, so it will probably be less eventually, but for now, it's so most of those are a little too expensive, maybe for our price range here. Razorverge Thicket. Well, some of them are. Okay, let's try the optimized printings. Oh, cool. There's a number. Okay. Yeah, so some of these are dirt cheap. These guild gates. Because people just don't really play them. They just really don't play them. Okay. So we'll do that. Oh, what other dual lands can we get? Painlands. Actually, Painlands could be really good. Painlands could be really, really good for us. Okay, Caves of Koilos. Especially interested in, oh good, Orsov colors, the white and black, because our 2 1-drop shrines, wow, it's split over all everywhere. Anyways, Sanctum Tranquil Light and Northern Air Temple. We would like to be able to play those turn 1. And ideally, we played Northern Air Temple on turn 1, turn 2, Sanctum Stone Fangs. Okay. But Sanctum Tranquil Light, turn 1, Sanctum Stone Fangs, turn 2 is also pretty good. We white then black or black and black, that kind of deal. So that's why I'm saying like Caves of Koilos would actually be really good. So Caves of Koilos, what are the other ones? We've got, where Painlands. Here we go. Brushland. Carplusen Forest. Brushland and Carplusen Forest. Oh, not Brushlands. Brushland. Carplusen Forest. Brushland, Carplusen Forest. Sulphurous Springs Underground River. Sulphurous Springs. Underground River. Some of these are a little more expensive. See? We're just going to put them in. And we're going to just delete the ones that are too expensive for our current budget. Land we're wasting of my coast. Llanowar Wastes. The Yavimaya Coast. Okay, so Siobhan Reef and Battlefield Forge. Siobhan Reef and Battlefield Forge. Okay, so there's actually a number of options here. This is actually really kind of cool because the thing is, like I've mentioned before, our cards generally cost 1 of a color, and then the rest is colorless. All these Painlands, yes, it costs a life essentially to get a color, but they can tap for colorless for free, and they come into play untapped. That is so important. So important. But we're also often only going to be playing 1 spell per turn or something like that. Like having painful lands is not actually nearly as bad, as long as it's only like paying 1 life per spell you cast. It's really not as bad as it would be in other decks. Yeah, because these all come to play tapped. Okay, so these are slow lands. These are slow lands. Slow lands can be nice. They really can be. Because basically anything that comes into play untapped can be really good. If it can come into play untapped, that's good. Deserted Beach. I don't know how much this will be. Deserted Beach. Whoo! It's expensive. Okay. So I think maybe they've only been printed once. And they've only been printed once, it seems like, many of them. I'm curious if Dreamroot Cascade will be cheaper because it's been reprinted. Haunted Ridge and Rockfall Vale. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, I guess that one's a little cheaper, but still too much. Overgrown Farmland. What was that next one? Shattered Sanctum. Actually, the funny thing is that the slow lands, I'd actually be interested in more interested in the ones that aren't white or black. Like this Capglade. Okay. Let's see, Dreamroot Cascade. This one, for example. I would be, seeing it's cheaper. That's good. I actually might throw one of those in. I don't know. Because the cool thing about that one is our green and blue spells cost 3 or more. So Dreamroot Cascade could come into play untapped. Because we control 2 or more other lands, it would come into play. It would come into play untapped. On turn 3, we'd be able to play it. That's actually kind of cool. Okay. Storm Carved Coast. Storm Carved Coast. And Sundown Pass. Sundown Pass. Okay. And this deck, yeah, we have a lot of really important like 3 mana spells. Okay. Okay, so that's cool. Reveal, you need mountains or forests. No, these are all expensive. I already know that. Unless something has changed dramatically, they're all kind of expensive, and having options later is actually really good. Shocklands, very expensive. Guildgates, yeah, we've looked at those. Check lands, generic tap lands, no. Okay, yeah, and then these are fetch land. These I'm pretty sure are expensive, Horizon lands. I think. Silent Clearing. Yeah. Which one? I'm not even gonna look up the rest. I'm pretty sure they're all expensive. Okay, creature lands, they'll come to play tapped. We're gonna just keep looking. Filter lands. We don't really need filter lands. Last time I checked, they were all expensive. Not really what we need. And by expensive, plenty of these that I'm looking at are not actually horribly expensive, but if you're wanting like a tight budget like we're going for, not so much. Okay. Yeah. These filter lines are also good and also generally a little more expensive, but since a lot of them are reprinted in this, I think some of these are not as expensive. But they don't produce any mana on their own, which is a little awkward. So I'm not sure that I want those. They do come into play untapped though. So I mean there's something to be said for that. Desolate Mire. Yeah. Doesn't get me excited. Okay. That's basically it there. So let's look. We're going to first. Who's my price? Oh, we're going to optimize printings very first. Okay, because there's like a bunch of these that are less. Some of them significantly less, some of them not terribly significantly less. Okay, so we're going to optimize those. Okay, so now, okay, Shipwreck Marsh, yeah, we're just not. Haunted Ridge, $8. Yeah, we're not doing anything for that. Okay, so this one, It's a pain land. We do like pain lands, but I think we'll just cut that because it's $1.39. This is a slow land. Tapped. Yeah. It's a little bit more. Sulphur Springs. Another pain land. Okay. Storm-Carved Coast. Yeah. Shattered Sanctum. Seagate. Yeah, so the gates. Yeah, this is. We're not going to really be able to do that. Sanctum of Stone Fangs. We're going to keep that. Rockfall Vale. It's also a little expensive over on farmland. Holland Gate. We will need that if we do the gates. Deserted Beach. We're definitely not doing that. Deathcap Glade. Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's like almost $2, so we're probably not doing that. Dark Six Shores. Citadel Gate. We'll figure all the gate stuff out if we want to do that. Which honestly, I don't really know that we're gonna do the gate stuff. It's a cute idea, but it might just be a little too cute, you know? Like if your deck's trying to do two different things but doesn't do either of them very well, that's awkward, right? I wanted to look at the other land options first, because if we can get a really good mana base without the gates, then it might just not make a lot of sense to do the gates. Because the gates might slow stuff down to the point where you're just losing, you know? And the gates aren't going to save you. Okay. All right. So we've trimmed down a lot of our more expensive ones. Razor Verge Thicket. Tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. It's a fast land. Yeah, let's trim that. Dreamroot Cascade. So this actually is a pretty nice land for us. Okay. So now let's go back to categories. We have right now 23 lands. We have at least 24. Lands are really important for this deck. Really important. Having extra lands probably would not be bad. Like having 26 lands, probably not a bad idea in this deck. Because you have to hit your land drops. Okay, so now let's see. We have our 4 White Lotus hideouts. We have our Llanowar Waves. Okay, let's take what we're going to do here. Do we have anything in the maybe board? No, we don't have anything in the maybe board. We have something in the sideboard. So we're going to take our gates. And we're going to select those. We're going to move those to, move to category, maybe board. Okay, that way we can just look at this deck as it is. Okay, honestly, I'm not super jazzed about Ether Hub. Yes, it can do any color, but it can't give you any color more than once. So I'm gonna say probably no Ether Hubs. Look at Trilands real fast. Trilands are interesting. Okay, there are the Trilands. They do all intertapped. These intertapped. These would probably be pretty cheap though, because no one really plays them. That is still just intertapped. Layer. Yeah, layers, no. We could use, if we're going to use tapped lands, they're not going to be dual lands. They're probably going to be tri-lands. That I will say. So we'll keep these as possibilities. Okay. Because of that. Like, if we're going to use tapped lands, we can just Tri-lands. Okay, now let's see. Grand Coliseum does enter tapped. Okay. All right, let's see. What are we looking at for cost? Okay, we're actually not too bad on cost right now. By Twitch cost. Into calm water. Doing too badly. Take out Sanctum of All. Okay. So if we really wanted to keep the price down, we could take out our. We could take our learn mechanic out. Potentially simplify things. But anyways, let's look at the stats down here. Production, we have a decent amount. We have 23 things that make white. We have 23 things that make blue. We have 20 that make black. We have 24 that make green. We have 22 that make red. So we need to bump up our black production. We need to bump up our black production. Alrighty. That's no problem. We can do that. So how would we do that best? It can be nice to have a basic land in a deck. How the basic land costs much. It can be nice to have a basic land in case people destroy stuff and let you search for basic land. So that is a thing. Oh, these basic lands cost a lot. We'll pick this one. Okay, so we could do that. Let's see, Caves of Koilos. This is probably one of the best ones. Because we have Command Bridge can't be our first card. First land. Caves of Koilos would probably be the best one to bump up. We'll increase the cost a little bit, but now how many lands do we have? We have 25 lands. Okay. Now let's see, what's our production? We have 24 that produce black, 24 that produce green, 22 that produce red, 26 that produce white, 23 that produce blue. That's pretty good. Honestly, pretty good. How about a black-red? Do we have a black-red dual land? Have a black-red dual land. Or did all of those get trimmed? All of them got trimmed. That's fine. Okay, what? This one, white and red. How about is it? Do we have an is it one? Siobhan Reef. Cool. Pop that up. This is a fairly painful mana base. That is true. It is a fairly painful mana base. That is a little concerning. That's definitely the most concerning thing about this mana base, is just that you're going to be taking damage left and right. Like with every spell you cast, essentially you're going to take damage. That is not really ideal. White Lotus Hideout is just absolute gold here. Yeah. Command Bridge is also nice in that way, so that's one reason why we have those in there. Okay, so yeah, we just mostly have Painlands. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to double check the count. So they say there are 24 black sources. I don't know if they're counting some of these other things like sanctums, whatever. Okay, so let's see. There's 4 of these. 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16. 16 lands that can produce black. What's it saying? Why? What's it? Oh, it's counting the maybe board? Why would you count the maybe board? Okay, well that's awkward. It's counting the maybe board in this number. So that is really not not a useful thing, but so I moved it to the maybe board actually, but that's fine. So we have 10, we have 16. 16 sources of black, but only 10 that can be used on the first turn. That's a little too bad. Okay. Okay. That might be what we need to do though. Okay. All right. For this one, yeah, we've got a bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. Yeah. So we might have even more. Produce white. A lot that can produce 8. No, they can produce white. Good number that can produce red. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, 15. So you might be a little shy on red. Might be a little shy on red. How about green? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. I feel like we're a little shy on red. Maybe a little heavy on white. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18. So we're a little heavy on white, a little shy on red. Not too heavy on white though, because we do want it turn 1. We can bump up our red, that would be nice. Don't know how we can do that though. Okay. Okay, we'll just leave it for now. Right. So right now we have our $32. Okay. I kind of feel like the learn mechanic. I don't really love cram session. I don't love hunt for specimens. I don't love professor symbology. We're at. Yeah, we are going to take out the Kyoshi Island Plaza. If we want to keep our costs down, we would need to take out the Sanctum of All. Want to get under $30, we probably need to take that out. We also could just take out the whole sideboard and the whole learn mechanic. But I like having it be fun to play. I feel like the learn mechanic would potentially be kind of a fun little thing. Okay, so we need one more thing. I think the Southern Air Temple is good. I think the Southern Air Temple is good. So, here, mana value of spells. So, kind of comes down to a little bit of just what we're going to emphasize here. Like, are we going to prioritize making sure we're under the $30 or making sure we're as cheap as possible? If so, should probably take out the learn stuff. It would simplify the deck a little bit to do that as well. Let's see. If we do that, we bump Sanctum of Calm Waters up by 1. We're going to take out Learn. I would move these to the sideboard just for now. Well, this is counting the sideboard. Yeah. So, how does that look? We have 58 cards. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then I would bump up the lands, honestly. I would honestly, some of these gates might be interesting. Get into Intertapped. Okay, so let's bump up the red. And let's go with Forge. It's cheaper. Okay. So let's try that. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna try this. We're gonna test this and just see what it's like. I think I do actually run 28 lands in my Pioneer deck. So I think this is the same set of shrines that I have in that deck. And it works really pretty well. Really rather well. But it'll be interesting to see if the lands work. But see, that's the thing. I'm curious if it would be better to take out some lands, maybe go down to 28 lands. I don't know, something. Go down a few lands. Maybe go down a Sanctum. Maybe take out the Southern Temple. It honestly does not come up that much, or a Sanctum of All, and add like the Eye Twitches, for example. And I mean, Sanctum of All is really good. I would kind of want to keep that in. But go down a few of these other things and add in Eye Twitches so that we can have our sideboard. Especially because Eye Twitch is really not that expensive. That could be useful. So let's see if this Manabase really works. Manabases are honestly like ridiculously important. Okay, this is actually looking really good. We've got turn 2, turn 3. In my experience, the shrine decks, you need 2 shrines by the end of turn 3, or else you need to mulligan. So we're going to keep this. We also have a Grand Coliseum. I'll play that tapped. And then turn 2, we can play a Llanowar Wastes. They'll take 1 damage. Do that. Okay, then next turn, we will gain a life and make our opponent lose a life. And then we'll play a Siobhan Reef. And then tap, tap, tap. Take another damage. Play a Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. Next turn, we will go up 2 life. Make opponent lose 2 life. And then we'll add 2 mana. Depending on what my opponent had, I would either go with, I could go with Sanctum of Shattered Heights, because I could deal 3 damage twice with that. Or I would just play a Crescent Island Temple or a Sanctum of Calm Waters. If there's no pressure, I would do a Sanctum of Calm Waters. Crescent Island Temple would be good for just getting some blockers out and whatnot. But yeah, if there's no pressure, I'd do Sanctum of Calm Waters. This is turn 4. There's probably some pressure. In small stacks there will be. So I'd add red. And then I'd use a 2 mana, play this, and tap that. And then I would discard Sanctum Calm Waters, deal 3 damage, and I would discard another Grand Colosseum and deal 3 damage. So take out their threats. Now, let's say now they don't really have a lot of big threats. They might still have some creatures, but that's not a big deal because, hey, look, now we just gained 3 life, made them lose 3 life. Okay. All right, and now we can, let's say we'll add blue. So I'll add blue, we'll play this. And then we'll just need to tap something else for that. We'll tap that for white, which will deal -1 damage. Play that. Okay, so now say they even have like a pretty big creature or something. We can either just like discard our Crescent Island Temple to it, which is not a big deal. Like we could do that. So they say they play something or have something big. You can just discard this. Yes, we would like to play it, but it's really not a big deal to discard it. Deal 5 damage to it. That's cool because we're going to draw a bunch of cards. At the beginning of the next upkeep, we're going to gain 1, 2, 3, 5 life, make them lose 5 life. We're going to draw 5 cards and then discard a card. We could discard, I mean, at this point, that probably doesn't matter really what we discard, but we'll discard a Copperline Gorge. Okay. And see, we just got another Crescent Island Temple. We'll add red to our mana pool. We'll play a Crescent Island Temple. And get 6 of those. Still have 1 red in our mana pool, actually. Okay, so now we'll get monks. We'll get so many monks. Just use a counter for this. We're going to get 6 monks. Okay. We'll play a Battlefield Forge. So we have white to tap down stuff. Like at this point, like this is kind of how you want to play this out. Right? We've used interaction, whatnot. We've done stuff like that. We have ways to tap stuff. We have ways to just get rid of creatures or planeswalkers. We've got lots of options. We could even play another Crescent Island Temple right now to get tons more monks, but I'm not. Like right now, even we could just use another red mana and discard a swamp to deal damage, 6 damage or something. That's kind of crazy. So there are actually a lot of options of this. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. Honestly, in the Manabase, worked really well. Wasn't an issue. We could try it. Try it again. Okay, so this one we'd have this one turn 1, or actually turn 2. We have to look at our mana base. So Grand Colosseum would enter tapped. Then we could play this turn 2, and then we could play Spirit Oasis turn 3. Okay, so let's keep this, and we'll play Grand Colosseum tapped. Oh, White Lotus Hideout. Oh, wonderful. We'll play that because now we don't have to pay life. Okay, white, let's hide out. Nice. Okay, we gain 1 life. And our opponents lose 1 life. Okay, and then next turn. So now we can just play, honestly, doesn't much matter. I generally play the Spirit Oasis first to get cards, and then play Sanctum, because I can't, I generally don't play Sanctum Shattered Heights when I can't use it. I have something like Spirit Oasis to use right away. I'll play the Spirit Oasis. I'll gain 1 life, make them lose a life, and draw 2 cards. Okay, next turn. Alrighty, so let's play Copperline Gorge, and then I will tap 3 for Sanctum Shattered Heights, and tap 1 and discard Grand Colosseum to deal 3 damage. Okay, because I assume we would need to. I'll also gain 1 life and draw a card. Oh, perfect. Sanctum Shattered Stone things. Perfect. Okay, so sure, Caves of Koilos. That's great. Actually, not Caves of Koilos. Not Caves of Koilos. We'll just play the Swamp, because we can do that and play Sanctum Stone Fangs, gaining a life, making them lose a life, drawing a card, and we can also tap that for green, play Sanctum Fruitful Harvest, which will gain a life, make them lose a life, draw a card. Next turn, this one starts kind of going crazy, because now we can get 5 mana. So we have 10 total mana. We could play another one. So we have 11 mana. Yeah, this is now it just kind of goes bonkers, because we say red, and oh, yeah, we're supposed to gain 5 life and make them lose 5 life. So we could say red, and tap this for a blue. We have 5 red, we'll use 2 of it. Play the Spirit Oasis, then sack 1 of them to draw. It sees 1 coming in, so we'll draw a total of 6 cards. 6. Okay. Well, we didn't get another Northern Air Temple in those, but that's okay. So we will now use 3 mana and a random other mana to play Crescent Island Temple and get 6 monks. Okay, and draw a card and gain a life and make them lose a life. I hope I've kept track of all those. I might not have. That will cost us a life. Then we'll gain a life back and make the person lose a life. We play a Sanctum of Tranquil Light. We'll also draw a card. We'll also make it. Yeah, see how this kind of goes crazy? Okay, and then we also can just like discard a couple cards to deal damage to the creatures, and now actually we can win. We can just play Northern Air Temple now. This, because we have 7, this will see that one come in and make them lose 1 life and make us gain a life. This will see the 7 shrines and make them lose 7 life and make us gain 7 life. So that will take them down to 0. Okay, so see, it works really pretty well. Okay, I'm kind of liking these Painlands. I'm really kind of liking them. Okay, so I think this Manabase actually works well. And I'm kind of thinking that thinking this could be good still. But I'm not too certain. Okay, kind of want to wrap this video up soon. So I'm going to say, if you want to try putting a lesson sideboard in, it especially could be useful if you end up playing against decks with artifacts or enchantments. Don't want to be soft to those. Because that would be beneficial. But see, most of these are kind of redundant because we have like ways of dealing with stuff. So I honestly don't think most of these would be that useful. Like honestly, the origin of metal bending would probably be the most beneficial thing. Price of freedom. Soka's Haiku is definitely not. I wouldn't put this one in. Reckless Blaze maybe as a board wipe. Board wipe. Get rid of a problematic land if your opponents play problematic lands. Or artifacts and draw a card. But it also gives them a land, so that's not that great. Probably not this one. Maybe that one. And then yeah, I'd probably just use like 4 eye twitches. But the problem is that you can't discard an eye twitch to a Sanctum Shattered Heights. You also can't, like, you don't learn immediately when you play an eye twitch, so if you draw it late, it's probably not going to be that awesome. Whereas if you draw even a Southern Air Temple late, but you have a Spirit Oasis out, so you can draw a card from it, like that's useful. So that's what I'm saying. I kind of think sticking with shrines could be the best. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with that for now. Okay. So I think I'm going to just delete that. The gate option, I think it just really wouldn't be worth it. I was a little surprised. I hadn't thought of those Painlands, and the fact that they're actually fairly inexpensive worked out really well, because I think this deck actually can use the Painlands more easily than most because it gains life, and it's not very color intensive, even though it has a great variety of colors. So it can use the Painlands much better than most decks could, I think. And them coming into play untapped is amazing. This deck is not one that can really afford to have too many tapped lands. You have a little bit, but really not too many, I would say, because you run into issues with, like, if you can't get if you don't have your third land, you're kind of dead, like, because you're kind of stuck. Especially if you only have Sanctum Stone Fangs, then you're counting on being able to cast a Sanctum Fruitful Harvest and you don't get your third land, then you're probably just kind of dead, really, really dead. Especially if you only had one of these. Like, these really don't. Sanctum Tranquil Light, cool, by itself doesn't do anything, really. So I think just sticking with shrines and lands is actually probably the best call here. I'll be honest. I think that is the best way to do it. And I think you don't really have any room in the deck for, without taking away from the shrines and making them not really work as well, to put all the support cards in for the gates. And I feel like the gates could work. Gates could work, but they all come into play tapped. You would need a playset of Gone Gate. But when you don't have the Gone Gate, you're playing a turn late. And that's, I think you'll lose many games that way. Many games that way, honestly. So I kind of think that this isn't really a good option because, like I said, you're not wanting to, it really wouldn't work to have all the support cards for the gate strategy, because that would take away from the shrine strategy. You know, if you have very many non-shrines or non-lands, this card stops being as useful. One nice thing about this deck is that every single card can be discarded to Sanctum Shattered Heights for damage. And that honestly has saved my life many times. So I think ultimately it'd be better to not. And this did come in under $30, which is why I said we might go up to 25 or 30. We got it under 30. So I'm pretty happy with that. 28 lands is a lot. It's a very lot. But we have a very high mana curve. We really have a very, very high mana curve here. We have lots of 3-drops, we have lots of 4-drops even, and a 5-drop. And you have to have your colors. So just having more lands just actually does make it easier to get your colors, too. So I think, honestly, this Manabase is pretty legit. I was very happy with it. And I do personally know for a fact that this setup of shrines will perform very well. I've tested it on Arena, in Pioneer, many times. I played so many against that deck because it's so fun. It is true that I do use a couple copies of Boseiju Who Endures in that deck for artifact enchantment and non-basic land removal. Here, I'll just show you Boseiju Who Endures. But it's a little expensive, right? One nice thing about Arena is that it's just a rare. But yeah, it destroys artifacts, enchantments, or non-basic lands, and it is itself a land, so it still works. The one other thing, if you do run into what's the name of it? Okay, if you do run into graveyard strategies a lot, there's actually a card I recommend adding to this deck. I might just toss in a couple, maybe. Okay, deserts. Deserts are interesting because deserts, some of the deserts are interesting. So many of the deserts have an ability that sacrifice a desert to activate. So this one, let's see. Okay, so Grasping Dunes, this is one. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Okay, that's probably not worth it for us. But in a mill deck, this can be nice. This put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature and opponent controls. That's kind of cool. Okay, one deals damage. Scavenger Grounds right here. Okay, so Scavenger Grounds. Okay, there's one that's cheap. It can be nice to be able to exile graveyards. It can be nice to do that. So we can put that one in Scavenger Grounds. Here we go. We could toss the Scavenger Grounds in here. And just know that you could have more if you need it. Let's see, what's the cheapest one? 33. Okay. Here. What do we have a lot of protection of? Yeah, we probably don't need that much. So let's take out on a darker piece. Battlefield Forge. Let's take out this one out. Okay. So now we have a scavenger grounds in here. You can pay 2 and sacrifice a desert. In this case, itself, to exile all graveyards. And if you are running into a lot of graveyard decks, you can just put more in with scavenger grounds. I've won games of scavenger grounds. It's kind of fun. But yeah, so I use Boseiju, Wounders, and scavenger grounds as kind of some other removal for the artifacts, enchantments, and graveyards and lands. If you are running into an issue with playing against a lot of so a lot of artifacts or enchantments, then just maybe trim a couple lands, like trim command bridges, or I don't know, whatever you find to not be quite as useful. Command bridges, I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how they played out with this deck. That's what I'd say about that. They're a little risky. So maybe trim a couple command bridges and put in a couple of removal spells. You could put in some white removal that takes care of creatures, artifacts, enchantments, or whatever. Or you could put in some green removal for artifacts or enchantments. There's a number of different options you have. So that's how I would modify it if your metagame involves a lot of some of those things that this is weak to. Because in this current build, there's no way to get rid of an artifact or enchantment, right? But that's okay. Against most decks, it's really fine. Sometimes I haven't even played Boseiju when I had it, just because I had better things to do. Even though my opponent had some powerful stuff, I just had even more powerful stuff and won the game, And then the really cool thing is you have Sanctum of All. Sanctum of All is such a fun card. It's fun to play a 5-color card. The time I started playing Magic, honestly, I wanted to build a 5-color deck. And this is one of the second 5-color deck that I built that was really good. And it's fun to just play a 5-color card. All 5-color cards are not actually worth it. But this one actually is amazing in this deck. And Southern Air Temple, it's especially if I have some monks from Crescent Island Temple, or I have a Crescent Island Temple out at least. Playing Southern Air Temple can be very, searching for Southern Air Temple with Sanctum of All can be a really good way to just close out a game. Other than that, searching up whatever you need, but Northern Air Temple will win games quite a bit. Just know when you search for something with Sanctum of All, if you search for one of the sanctums, it won't trigger, like the Sanctum Fruitful Harvest, the Sanctum Stone Fang, Sanctum Calm Waters. It won't trigger until the beginning of your next turn. It still can be worth it, but if you're under stress, it might not. But yeah, you can just search for something like Crescent Island Temple to get creatures. You can search for Sanctum Shared Heights to be able to just ping a bunch of stuff. You can search for Northern Air Temple, especially if you have, maybe Sanctum of All is your 5th shrine, at least. Northern Air Temple, you search for that with Sanctum of All. It lands. Now you have 6 shrines. And then you will make your opponent lose life equal to twice the number of shrines you control. And you will gain life equal to twice the number of shrines you control because this ability will trigger twice. So that can be pretty epic. So, number of different options. Also, if you already have a lot of the other ones, just grab a Spirit Oasis, and suddenly you have a ton of cards. So, lots of good options here. I've had a ton of fun playing this deck, and I'm really happy and a little surprised that we're able to come up with a really effective 5-color deck, 5-color mana base for it. I think that's really cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this deck, and let me know. Let me know if you build it. Let me know any thoughts you have, or if you have any questions. Also, definitely let me know if you're interested in seeing me build a specific deck. Love to know about that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Ciao.